Hello and welcome to the Game Theory Podcast. I'm your host, Sam Vecenie. Today we're going to talk about the Indiana Pacers kicking the absolute shit out of the Oklahoma City Thunder in Game 6 and forcing a decider. Zaza, come take us home.
Nothing easy. Nothing easy. We're going to Game 7, baby. Game 7. Game 7.
Bryce, I'm ready. Are you ready? Let's do this. Take Zaza's word and let's go.
I was like trying to find anything other than the two best words in sports are Game 7, because I know that 3,000 tweets are going out right now with that, but I couldn't come up with anything else. And then I saw people talking about the Zaza meme and all of that. So I don't have anything. I'm excited. Like that's what we will go past all of that to directly Sunday evening. I am excited for, because as we will talk about, and you already mentioned, the Thunder got their butts kicked tonight. So we get a potential response game. You talk about legacy opportunities in games all the time. Who knows what role players are going to show up? I can't imagine what the environment's going to be like in OKC in that arena. It is truly, truly awesome. And literally all I hope, I do not care who wins. I don't care if the Pacers win and my prediction was completely wrong. I do not care. All I hope for is we get a banger of a game. Like, just give us a good game. No sort of blowout either way.
And by the way, man, shout out the Indiana crowd tonight too. Like
Sure.
You said that Oklahoma City crowd's going to be crazy. That Indiana crowd tonight looked awesome. It looked incredible. It looked like everybody was pumped to be there, was screaming, and gave them a real burst. Let's talk through this. I mean, 108-91 was the final score, but it wasn't that close. Indiana wins. It was not a 17-point game. That was a 30-point beatdown. It was 90. What was it? At the end of the third, 92 to 62.
I was gonna say it was 30 points, 90 to 60, I think.
90 to 60. You are right. It was 90 to 60 at the end of the third quarter, and just an absolute beating from the second quarter onward. Realistically, this was a 20-minute or so stretch where I think the Pacers went on, I think it was a 29-point advantage, a 29-point run. I think that the Thunder got it down to like 33-32 or so, right around the 8-minute mark of the second quarter. And then the next 20 minutes were just an epic ass kicking, epic ass kicking by Indiana. And we'll absolutely talk about what we think happened with it. But that was an incredibly fun experience. It was an incredibly fun experience to watch what just transpired for Indiana. An unbelievable game for the Pacers.
So at 8:52 second quarter, J-Dub made the second of two free throws to make it 33-34, Pacers winning. And at 8:07 in the third quarter, the score, nope, let's go a little further. At 7:15 third quarter, so a little over 12 minutes of game time, right? It is now 70-42 Indiana Pacers. So that's a 27-point difference. I think that's about what you said. I will say this. I thought Indiana came out. So OKC came out, right? Built the early lead. Indiana came back with the barrage of threes in that first quarter. And I was like, man, if OKC weathers this storm, I think they're going to be okay. And they did. I think it was a 3-point game at the end of the first quarter. Yeah,
and I'm not going to lie to you. I thought at the end of the first, Oklahoma City was home. Like, I know that Indiana was up 3, but I was like, okay, they got through the storm. I really, truly thought, like, okay, this is probably now going to be Oklahoma City.
Yeah, no, I'm
they're
with
getting
you.
Easier shots. Like, I thought it was just like a huge barrage from Indiana that they overcame.
I agree. That's where I was. And I thought, I have it in my notes here, Sam. I thought that Indiana missed a big time opportunity to extend that lead, have it big or whatever. But you know what happened to start the second quarter? TJ frickin' McConnell started the second quarter. And I want to stop saying hustle plays, because I don't even think that does it just. He creates so many extra possessions. Like it is more impactful than just, because I think sometimes we think hustle plays. It's like, oh, he dove out of bounds into the crowd and it energized the crowd. And he does do that. He absolutely, he is an energy giver to, the crowd, his teammates, all of that. But I bet he had almost damn near double digit extra possession creation plays in the first half, whether it was a loose ball, a tipped offensive rebound, forced a turnover, a multitude of ways, along with the fact that OKC just can't keep him from getting to 8 feet and either getting all the way to a layup or a mid-range jumper. What an impressive performance from him that I felt like kind of got that thing going for the Pacers, and then they just never let off the gas again.
I completely agree. I think he was the thing that changed the momentum of this game when it started to look like Oklahoma City could wrangle a bit of control. I also thought that Rick Carlisle, like right at the start of what would this be? Right around the 5-minute mark, I believe, whenever Siakam came back in, went to Siakam on Jalen Williams a little bit more consistently.
Yep.
And I thought that was just a different look. That's something you've mentioned that you thought would be a really interesting idea in this series. I was like a little bit questionable about it, but you were 100% right. That really started to give J-Dub some more difficult looks, it felt like to me. But I just want to read off like TJ McConnell here.
Real quick, just to the J-Dub point, real fast. The first time I noticed it was as soon as OKC went a bit away from the two big lineup. Whenever they took one of the bigs off the floor and brought Caruso on, I think Carlisle felt like then he could use Siakam on J-Dub, and he put Nesmith on Caruso. So go ahead.
So TJ gets a steal in the first quarter against J-Dub, leads to like a wide open 3 for somebody. Can't remember off the top of my head. I was Toppin. It was Obi Toppin. TJ then, I believe, gets at the start of the second quarter. Also, like I think he forced 2 deflections and one steal.
He forced an illegal screen as well on SGA.
Forced an illegal screen. Yep. Another steal. Then he gets an offensive rebound against Isaiah Hartenstein. Then he goes in and gets another contested rebound where the ball gets to the ground against Hartenstein. It was just like moment after moment, loose ball after loose ball. This dude just found it. Every single time he was there, every single time he was aggressive. 12 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists, 4 steals, 6 for 12 from the field. It was insane. It was absolutely ridiculous. He was the guy tonight in the second quarter. It was incredible for those 6 minutes that he was on the court in the second quarter before they yanked him. Fair enough to them, right? It was unbelievable, the effort and intensity that he went.
I think what's crazy too, and the broadcast kept bringing this up, is this isn't a guy that just like comes in and like he takes crazy usage. Like his use to have a backup guard that takes the usage he does in terms of shot creation, normally for himself. But that is a huge advantage for a team. And that's what at halftime of this game, I think Shea and J-Dub had all but like 10 of the Thunder points, and 6 Pacers had 8 or more points. And it was just like, it was completely different in terms of the depth of these two teams, especially on the scoring front in this game. And listen, you mentioned Obi Toppin briefly, and I don't know if we want to move off of McConnell yet. I feel like we're giving him his flowers, and rightfully so. Sam, I thought Obi Toppin was pretty good offensively. I know people will question his defense and stuff. I went back and for an outside project, I looked at Obi Toppin's offensive game throughout this series, and I was like kind of impressed with how he's figured out how to play within this offense. Run in transition, stand in the corner if I need to, knock down, catch and shoot threes, screen and rescreen and get into the short roll if I need to, go offensive rebound. Like the defense is a question and I get it, but I feel like he's really figured out offensively how to be a part of this offensive flow and really, really contribute. And he had 8 quick points tonight as well in that stretch with McConnell.
Yeah, no, I think Obi has been unbelievable on offense in this series, like entirely in the series. Like there have been a couple games where he's been down, but 20 points tonight on 6 of 12 from the field with 4 threes, right? Going through like the game log here, 12 points in game 5, 17 in game 4, 17 in game 1, right?
Yep.
He has been utterly massive. Like I don't even think it's a question. And I'm glad you bring up the idea of Toppin, right? As we talk through like the draft, the draft is next week. Obviously we're 6 days out. Role players, people yell at me when I talk about fit all the time. Like, oh no, you have to draft the best player available. Draft the best player available. Guys, finding the right scheme. I think the issue with a lot of people is like they just don't necessarily like understand the scheme stuff, and that's okay. Like I'm not watch basketball however you want to watch basketball. It's totally fine.
Well, but to be fair, it's hard to do it for 30 teams, right? Like I find myself even with some teams finding, okay, what exactly is their identity? And like I watch as much as humanly possible, and it's still 1,000%. Hard for all 30.
No, 1,000%. Like you have to take like real notes to do it.
Yes, correct.
And the thing is that like what an amorphous board for a team, for a, another team or a vacuum looks like should not be what a board looks like for any other given team. Right.
Yep.
Because certain players are going to fit into schemes in different ways that might make sense. Like Obi Toppin makes drastically more sense for the Indiana Pacers than he did for the New York Knicks because of the way that the Indiana Pacers play. They play the up-tempo style with all sorts of weird back cuts and with a spacing 5 so he can play the 4 and cut on the baseline if he wants to and be a weapon in the corners from 3. He can obviously knock down shots. He's not as relied upon to be able to create shots. Obi Toppin has always been an elite level play finisher. That's always been the idea of how this will work, either from 3 or at the rim. And I'm so glad that he's found his home. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we'll see like if he can stay there long term because he's making a decent amount of money and they are going to have some real financial issues here coming up. Like they're going to have to make informed choices on who they keep and who they don't keep. Right. But Obi finding this home here is exactly what the vision was for him long term. And, he goes number 8 in the draft or whatever, and doesn't really work out in New York, gets traded for a 2nd round pick that like, I think was even like not even a great 2nd round pick. And he finds his home at the end of the day. I think that that's a really important piece of kind of evaluating players across the board, pro personnel, NBA draft, anything like that. Like you got to find guys that make sense for what you do. Obi Toppin makes sense for what the Indiana Pacers do.
And they've done an incredible job. And that's what I was thinking about this. If Indiana wins this NBA Finals, instead of us saying copy that blueprint, you can't copy that specific blueprint. I think the takeaway should be find your blueprint, find what you think will work, because multitude of champions.
Bryce, honestly, forget if they win.
Yeah, like already, you're right.
Be the strategy.
Yeah, you're right. Absolutely. That's there are flowers already for that. But there's multitude of ways to win an NBA Finals with roster construction. Figure out what works for your organization within your ownership's willingness to spend and all of that, and then go identify players that fit that, right? Yes. And that's what Indiana maybe has done better than anybody. They got the stretch big. They got the 4-man in Siakam that fits perfectly with that. They have Nembhard and Nesmith can really guard. They have this guard off the bench that can have high usage. Then they have Obi Toppin, who not only can play the 4 next to a stretch big, but we're a team that wants to play fast. So Obi Toppin can play small ball 5 for us, Sam. Even in the playoffs at times, Obi Toppin can play small ball 5 for us because of our style of play. And so that's what my biggest takeaway, if I was another organization or NBA fan or whatever, would be. They are the epitome of come up with a style, hire the coach that will coach that style, and then identify players that fit that style, and don't stray from it based on talent. Just trust that those type of players will fit into what we do, and if we get it right, we can win at the highest level.
And it's all levels of basketball, by the way. Like
Sure,
Gonzaga doesn't go get the best players in the
100%.
country. Like now I mean, sort of do. Like, Jalen Suggs and Chet Holmgren were pretty good in high school, but
not
like
bad. Yeah.
they identify guys that make sense for their scheme, right? Oklahoma City identifies guys that make sense for what they want to do. Indiana has identified guys that make sense for how they want to operate. You figure that out. You bring, a real synergistic top-down mentality where everybody is involved and what you want to be. And that's how you do it, right? There are different ways to make it work. You can make it work on defense with Oklahoma City. You can make it work with like a breakneck pace on offense with a great transition game and an unbelievable point guard like Tyrese Halliburton. But it has to be top down. It has to be a real front office to the coaching staff, to the players are all aligned in terms of what we're doing. The issue here with what we're talking about, Bryce, is we're 16 minutes into this. And we have not talked about the most important part of the game to me. Indiana's defense.
Yeah.
Indiana's defense is by far the biggest story of this game to me. They were unbelievable in this game.
And here's what's funny. We just talked about this like identity. Don't you think in some ways they actually went against their identity that we've seen all year in terms of how many full court pressure possessions did we see tonight? How many pick up, like be super aggressive? They were super aggressive off the ball. They were super aggressive attacking Shea at certain times, but it wasn't necessarily this breakneck ball pressure that we had seen this team play with at times. And that's not easy to do, Sam. Like this is the biggest moment of the season. And they had to make a calculated decision to say, you know what, actually, instead of pressing up, we're going to give back a little bit at the point of attack, and then we're going to swarm from other areas and other players on the floor.
Well, and we've been talking about this like kind of after every game.
Yeah.
I think we've mentioned that we think the pickup point should be lower. We think the pickup point should be lower. We'd consider going under screens on Shea and making him be a 3-point shooter, right? It was weird to me that they just started doing this in game 6. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it was a kind of an obvious choice. Oklahoma City throughout the playoffs, in the moments where they have struggled, to me at least, it has been when they have been forced into being real shooters, right? And when you really cut off the paint and make it so that they can't, at the end of the day, be able to get points at the rim and at the foul line. And tonight, if you look at the box score, Oklahoma City shoots 41% from the field, 35% from three, or 26% from three. They made 5 threes in the fourth quarter. I believe that they were 3 for 20 from three entering the fourth quarter. So that, 90 to 60 run there through the first 3 quarters. They were 3 for 20 entering the third quarter. The other thing that Indiana did tonight, and the other thing that I think doing what you're doing in terms of more collapsing the paint and having a lot of bodies there, Oklahoma City had 4 offensive rebounds tonight, despite having missed a billion shots, right? That was a huge part of game 5, was Indiana really struggling to control the defensive glass. In game 6, they completely dominated the defensive glass. I mean, again, like I'm just going to note that, look at games 2 and game 3 or game 4 and 5. Hartenstein plays 21 minutes in both of those games. It felt like to me that Mark kind of gave Hartenstein like a bit of a, or maybe the two big alignment, like a bit of a shorter run tonight than what he has. It's really interesting though. I would imagine the reason that they did that is because they wanted the space out there. Because of the way Indiana was playing defensively, they wanted the additional offensive shooter potentially, and they didn't want the 2 bigs out there in order to make that work. But I don't know, man. I still struggle a little bit with like kind of going away from what your identity is, and I think Oklahoma City at times has gone away from what its identity is. In Indiana's defensive pressure, like you said, pickup point being lower does not mean that the pressure drops. In fact, I would argue that the pressure was elite tonight across the board from everybody. They got right into everybody's grill at the point of attack. right whenever they caught the ball and tried to make a decision, if they were within 26 feet of the rim.
Yeah, and I mean, it played out on the court. Oklahoma City finished with 21 turnovers. I think I had in my notes at halftime they had 12, and 10 of those were between Shea, Chet, and J-Dub. And I think I saw in the broadcast that the 8 turnovers for Shea tied a career high. And as we know, he didn't even play the whole game, right? Like they called it off pretty early. And so I thought they had him real frustrated. He missed some shots. I thought he was forcing. I didn't think his decision-making was happening quite fast enough. And you brought up the 2 bigs. They did not start the 2 big lineup in the second half. He went to Caruso over Hartenstein. And this is one thing when we get to what happens in game 7 conversation, I think the rotations in the lineups, quite honestly, for both teams, Sam, because you know who we didn't see play very many minutes for Indiana until late? Was Benedict Mathurin. Benedict Mathurin played 5 minutes, I think, until both teams got into, garbage time at the end of the game. And so I am fascinated to see. If I had to predict right now, I would guess we do not see the 2 big lineup start game 7 based on it not starting the second half tonight. And I told you this from the start. I don't know that Daigneault believes in it in this series. Like, I think if you gave him truth serum or whatever and asked, like, do you think the 2 big lineup makes sense against the Pacers? I think he would tell you no. And so
what do you think the net rating of that 2 big arrangement is this series? And this includes tonight, by the way.
So I'm assuming it can't be that much. +5.
When Chet and Isaiah Hartenstein are on the court together, they have a +12.3 net rating.
Wow.
Oklahoma City.
Wow.
Like, I get it that you don't want to go to it because you think you're going to get beaten, but I think that it makes the matchups like a little bit harder. Like, you can't put Siakam on J-Dub if both of the bigs are out there. It doesn't work. You're forced to use Nesmith on him. And Nesmith got cooked in game 6 trying to guard J-Dub. And frankly, earlier in game 5 and early in game 6, he also got cooked.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, we both love Aaron Nesmith. We've given him plenty of flowers, but he has really struggled against J-Dub in this series. He's really struggled to defend him. You know what I think is interesting? This kind of goes against, okay, well, if they're going to collapse the defense, you want to be able to space. I think part of Oklahoma City's problem is they don't have a dunker spot finisher in a lot of these situations. And so when Indiana helps, the only option is to spray to the 3-point line. And so Indiana's back line is helping super aggressive because it's like, well, you're not going to dump it down there to Case and Wallace. Or, like, I know those guys can finish, but the recovery is enough. Like, the best play of the night was going to be a Hartenstein short roll lob to Chet, and Chet just blew the catch. Like, Chet was pretty bad offensively tonight, just in general.
Yeah,
I thought defensively, you still saw his impact. He was just bad offensively. But I kind of find myself, there's multiple possessions in this series, Sam, where I found myself going, man, if they had somebody in the dunker right there. Man, if they had somebody in the dunker. If they had somebody cutting baseline that could really finish above the rim. And when you take the 2 big, when you're playing 1 big, they kind of take that out of the equation.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And the thing with Chet is, if Chet is the guy in the dunker, it really tends to work because he can space to the corner and he can cut baseline. Like, he's able to operate across the entirety of the baseline. You know what I mean? So I don't know, man. It's
you know who does that in this series and has done really well? Obi Toppin. That's what Obi Toppin does for Indiana in the half court.
And to be clear, Chet has done it too.
Yeah.
Of this series for sure. But
yeah, I'm not taking it away from Chet. I'm just saying when Obi's the 4 and Turner, whatever, like, Obi can, bunker spot. He can space to the corner. He can cut. He can attack the offensive boards. All of that. So
yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, I mean, the Indiana defense tonight was just unbelievable. I thought Turner played incredibly well.
He did.
Defense. I thought Siakam. Go ahead with Turner real quick.
I find that really impressive because he was awful offensively as well.
Yeah.
Like, he was 0 of 8 at one point, I think, before he finally got a dunk on a transition or something like that. Really respect the defensive effort he gave while continuing to struggle on the offensive end.
Yeah, and I thought Siakam was everywhere.
He's so good.
I thought he was everywhere.
He's so good.
If they do win, I mean, look, like
Uh,
it'll depend, I guess, on what happens in game 7 on some level, but like if they win, he is probably the finals MVP, I think, at this
So
point.
I will not argue that. My only argument will be that I still believe Tyrese Halliburton has the biggest impact on whether this team wins or loses on a given night. And even I know we're 25 minutes in and we haven't talked about him.
Yeah.
He had the right mentality tonight. You could
Totally
see it
agree.
from the start. He went 1 for 4, but I was like, nah, he's locked in. He's taking shots. He shot up that little lefty floater. He was engaged defensively, being disruptive. To me, he's still the guy that determines whether they're going to win or lose at the highest level. Siakam has been incredible. I won't argue the production and how awesome he has been. I still think Halliburton is the most important player. And when he's in the right mindset, they have a real chance. It was a crazy performance. Here's the other thing. 23 minutes is the most important number in the box score for either team, in my opinion. Tyrese Halliburton, OKC, the best thing they could have done once the game was over was put some game pressure and force him back into the game, and they weren't able to do it. So he only had to play 23 minutes tonight, and then now he has 2 days off to do whatever he needs to do to be ready for game 7.
It's 100% right. I thought he was like 1 for 6 at one point.
It may have been.
But he got hot from 3. He drilled those 3 threes, which were huge. His ball movement tonight, like he had 5 assists, but it felt so much more impactful because he had so many hockey assists. He made so many just rapid decisions. You know, he catches and knows immediately where he's going with the ball. He kept it moving entirely. I thought he was really sharp tonight. Like, I know that was, even though he is not 100%, and like you could see it in the moments where he'd have like Hartenstein out on him and he couldn't really go anywhere. He couldn't get by him really. He still was able to kind of figure out, okay, let's use my brain. Let's read the defense out before I catch it, and let's make quick decisions that way. In transition, okay, I'm going to know where my teammates are before I catch, and then I'm going to make a quick pass to the middle of the court, and then it's going to be a hockey assist out for a corner 3, right? I thought he handled it really, really, really well. Nembhard was
really good
tonight.
Yeah.
I mean, look, we're going to have to talk about Shea. Shea goes for 21 points on 15 shot attempts and 8 free throws, but he has 8 turnovers.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that because Indiana did such a good job of condensing the lane with like all the different things that they're doing, right? Like they're nexting ball screens from time to time and like bringing heavy help at the elbow. They are trying to, you know, at times just bring an early help man from the corner, right? With like a, you know, Siakam coming into the lane so that he doesn't get a clean look at the rim. He has to pull up from the mid range, right? Like they're giving him a lot of different looks. And then the biggest thing that they're doing is that at times Oklahoma City is trying to get him emptied out, like on one side of the court against Nembhard so that he has some space to operate and just actually read out the court. And they're just finding the perfect time to send timely doubles.
Yep.
I thought they sent timely doubles at him all night in really, really sharp ways and made it difficult for him to know exactly where the double was coming from. And he didn't read the court well enough tonight. I think that anybody that kind of says that Shea is, you know, passing has continued to improve, his ability to read the court has continued to improve. I wouldn't disagree that it's gotten better, but I do think that it is still a thing that can be taken advantage of by a sharp defense that can hold him up at the point of attack. Like Nembhard at least can like body up and make his life a little bit harder. And then if you can force him to turn and bring the double, I don't think he sees where the open man is consistently enough yet in his career.
I know people are probably going to be like, hey, Shea's averaging over 30 in this series. But man, I give Andrew Nembhard a lot of credit. He anytime he's on the floor and Shea is on the floor, he is having to guard that man. And what I really respect is he does everything he can not to get switched off of him. You know, the lack of times that TJ McConnell has gotten attacked in isolation by Shea or Tyrese Halliburton has gotten attacked in isolation by Shea. That's not because of those guys or even schematics as much as Andrew Nimhard saying, no, I'm going to fight through this screen, and I'm going to be the guy that stays on Shea. And obviously Shea has got him because Shea is the MVP of the league. But I was really impressed with what he has been able to do, and specifically tonight. And you talk about he's so physical, and he's been good about not getting his hands too much in there in terms of letting Shea draw fouls. I realize he's gotten almost 10 times a game, but it's all, relative to what Shea is able to do. And tonight was huge. And it's going to be awesome. This is what we talked about at the top. Now we get to see how Shea responds. Now we get to see. We've done this a couple times, right? Remember the Minnesota blowout? We felt like they tapped into something a little different defensively. Okay, well, Indiana gave OKC something a little bit different defensively with where they picked them up, how they brought help, all of that. They got 2 days to watch film. They got 2 days to figure it out. And we're going to see what Shea comes up with, what Dagnall comes up with, and if they can figure that out. So I'm really excited for that matchup within all of the other stuff that we have on Sunday.
It was interesting to me too. It felt like in the first quarter, they had like a real plan to attack like guard to guard actions, right? With Halliburton hedging, they were almost always attacking that when TJ was on the court. Like they felt like, okay, Shea's out there. We're okay if it's like a switch with TJ onto Shea. Like we just think Shea can shoot over the top of him, right? And I think TJ was really, really great in this game, and I do like want to give him his flowers. I felt like that was part of the reason that they stayed within 3, to be honest, in the first after the hot start. And then did it feel like to you they went away from it a little bit? Like maybe they just like couldn't even like really initiate, and thus they didn't have a chance to even kind of get into what they wanted to do. But I'm going to be interested to see if that ends up being a strategy, continuing to attack the small ball screen actions, or do you go, again, like, do you go 2 bigs and, try and make it work that way? It's just really, really interesting to try and figure out how they're going to navigate that.
Their offense just stagnates at time. Like, I don't know a better word for it other than it just, and they run some interesting stuff. They came out of the gate tonight and they ran a really interesting off-ball action. Hartenstein actually screening for Chet. Chet curled off of it. And I'm like, okay, this is fun. This is cool. But then you only get that stuff after timeouts to start halves, to start quarters. And it's just then within the flow of the game, it doesn't seem like as much of that. And this is a big part of it, Sam. If you go back to our preview, and I'm sure it's not only ours, everybody's, we talked about turnovers and points conceded off of turnovers. And tonight that was very lopsided in one direction. Because one thing I wanted to ask you was, did you think the Oklahoma City defense was that bad tonight? Or do you think it was really directly related to how poor the Oklahoma City offense was tonight?
Oh, I thought it was a lot more about the offense. I didn't even think their defense was that bad tonight, to be honest. I just thought that Indiana obviously got hot from 3, and then like the turnovers just killed them.
Yeah.
Like the turnovers absolutely killed them, it felt like.
Yeah, no, I agree, because at one point I was like, okay, well, the common phrase is, defense travels. Well, it's not traveling very well tonight. And then I was like, okay, let me check myself here. And the more I thought about it, the more I was like, I don't know that this is the OKC defense as much as poor shot attempts, turnovers leading to transition, all of that. And so I was just curious where you landed on that as well.
Oh, I mean, look, like the thing is like Oklahoma City has been like not great in the playoffs on the road. They're 5-5 now. Like they're going to finish the playoffs 5-5 on the road, which for a team that's in the finals in Game 7 that won 68 games is not ideal. Like it's just not. So they've taken care of business at home. I'm sure that if you told them in the preseason they have Game 7 at home, where they've absolutely held control this entire season. I think they lost like 7 games total all year on the at home, and what they would be, God, I mean, I'm trying to do math in my head real quick. It'd be like 8, they're like 44-7 or something at home would be my guess. Like if you told them that, you'd probably feel pretty good if you're Oklahoma City. I mean, I'm going to go Oklahoma City in Game 7. I'm just going to ride with what I said in the preseason and in the regular season, at the end of the regular season. Like, Oklahoma City, I think, still has been the best team this season, but in this series, it is dead even. And my God, was that awesome.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I would still, I'll stay Thunder in 7. But man, it has been a lot of fun. I want to ask, okay, Indiana Pacers rotation, Sam, game 7, do they play over, under 8.5 players?
The Pacers will play over 8 players, I think. Yeah, it'll be
The starters,
the
plus
starters, McConnell,
Obi.
Mathurin, Toppin. I would guess Shepard will play a little bit at least, and they're going to have a backup big play. So I'd guess it'll be 10.
Okay. And then OKC, I don't even know if I want to go over. Like, who plays in that game? Like, I'm fascinated to see who he starts, who he plays. Like,
look, I feel like the role players have been better at home.
So that's the thing, right? Like, you just trust that, because, you know, I'd gone in kind of hard on Kaysen and Aaron Wiggins, and then game 5, they were awesome, and game 6, they were not. So if you're Dagnall, you just think that they're going to play better back at home. I mean, I think I would understand that. It's just, I am fascinated to see how quick of hook different players have, what sort of rotations we see. You know, like SGA and J-Dub, or like, are we going to get 46 minutes from those two guys? How many minutes can we get from Halliburton? Can Siakam go 45 minutes at their pace? Can Nembhard match 45 minutes of SGA if that's what he does? I mean, that's what's so cool about game 7, right? Is you have all of these things. So man, It's going to be fun.
It's going to be really fun. Do you have a pick? I said I'm taking Oklahoma City.
Yeah. No, I'll say Thunder in 7. I'm okay with you in terms of this is who I picked into the regular season, started the finals. They're at home. All the flowers to Indiana. I'm sure Pacers fans are tired of hearing me pick against them and still trying to give them credit. Yeah. But I will stay with it.
Yeah. What can you do? I hope they win. Like, I've thoroughly loved this Indiana team this year. They deserve so much credit and flowers. Like, they've been unbelievable. Just a really, really fun finals as much as anything. Like, that's what I'm most excited about. It's been an amazing finals.
Yep. Give me a good game. That's all I care about. Give me a good game.
I am certain all of the ball knowers here have enjoyed the NBA finals. But if you know ball like you think you do, you got to go over to PrizePicks. There's only one game left in the playoffs here, and the championship is officially on the line. That means time's running out for you to put your final takes to the test over on PrizePicks, which is the best place to cash in on your favorite sports. PrizePicks has millions of users. You should go join them. Sign up today. You can mix and match player projections from different sports, combine your favorite basketball players from baseball, hockey, esports, and so much more. Every Tuesday, PrizePicks is going to discount several projections on the board, usually by 15% to 25%. Fridays are Flex Friday. Make sure you opt in and tap the checkbox in your lineup builder to be eligible for the protected play. Choose the squares from any game on the board. If your lineup does not win, you will get your net losses back in promo funds, up your promo limit. The pick for today, Nick Gonzalez let us down with the Pirates in the last one that we did. He went 0 for 4, didn't get on base. Unfortunately, Pirates have to go against Jacob deGrom tomorrow. It's not going to go well. It's not going to go well for the Pirates. Jacob deGrom's over under 6.5 strikeouts. We're going to take the over on that one. We're going to take over a half base for Marcus Semien, over a half base for Wyatt Langford, both of whom have been awesome. And then we're going to go with over a half base for O'Neal Cruz because I have to pick someone on the Pirates. And we'll take their best player and assume that maybe he'll get lucky and get walked by deGrom. That one will pay out 3.6 to 1 if it wins. Download the app today. Make those picks and use the code Game Theory to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Download the app today and use the code Game Theory to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. Okay, Bryce. Let's go next to, I'll ask you, do you want to start with the Ace Bailey stuff or do you want to start with the KD stuff?
I want to talk about Ben McCollum. That's what I want to talk about.
Okay, we should talk about Ben McCollum. Ben McCollum can ball. I am sorry for not knowing his game.
That was
Ben McCollum. There's a video
crazy
out there from Iowa. I'll see if I can pull it up here. I don't know if I'll be able to. Where he and Cooper DeJean, the Eagles starting cornerback, is playing. They're playing basketball against one another, playing 5-on-5 pickup or whatever. Ben has got handles, man.
It like the change of direction move, and I'm like, so here's the thing, like that's Cooper DeJean. That is pick 6 in the Super Bowl as a rookie. Cooper DeJean, like incredible athlete, and Ben McCollum is just
a hooper,
like,
by the way.
Yeah,
like,
and a hooper.
Hooper can hoop.
Yeah, so he like can move like a basketball player. And Ben McCollum, like, I mean, he's only 44, so he's a young coach, but I'm just like, that, yeah, respect on that, because I would not have guessed that he had that in him.
I did not think so either. That was something, man. Ben McCollum, shout out to you, my guy.
Yes.
Okay. Question stands. Do you want to go to Ace Bailey or KD first?
Let's stay with the NBA and then finish with the draft. So we'll go KD.
So, I mean, the KD thing feels like it's at this weird impasse right now, right? Like, my read on it is that the offers are just not good enough. And this is why I've been saying, throughout the entirety of when we've been on this show, the KD return is not going to be like is what people think it is. I feel like I can only say that so often on this show, but that's the read. It's just not going to be what people think it is. And it's fine. But he's going to be 37 this year. He has 1 year left on his deal. You have to extend him, if you want to keep him long-term for his age 38 and 39 seasons, which is not ideal. To me, it's not surprising that like I think some Suns fans think that the Spurs should be offering like Steph Castle or number 2. And I'm just like, you guys, no chance. Like, that's not even going to be a conversation for the Spurs. Like, it's not even going to be like in the ballpark of what they offer. And like, it feels like to me, I mean, based on the reporting from Shams, honestly, like from my conversations, like it feels like the Spurs are not all that, into it. Like it might come back to them. Like the price might end up being low enough to where they just kind of say, okay, yeah, sure. You want 14, you want X, Y, and Z. Yeah. Like if that's best offer, like we'll take KD. And same with Houston, right? Like it feels like with Houston, yeah, you want Jalen Green and number 10 and what we can give you. Okay, sure. Into it. But yeah, I don't, I just don't think the offers here are going to be what people want them to be in Phoenix. And that's why this hasn't gotten done yet, is because Phoenix thinks that KD's worth a certain amount. They're clearly trying to play the leverage game with John Gambadaro in Phoenix and trying to like have him kind of put out there what the offers are. I think they're trying to like say like, hey, here, this is my speculation. I guess I don't know that they're leaking to Gambadaro. This is my speculation on how he seems to know what the offers are, though. That he's putting out what the offers are on the radio and trying to hope that those get out to the other teams in saying that, this is what's out there. This is what we have. This is what we want. And nobody's biting. Like nobody's going for it. Like it's funny. Like I think John, who, by the way, like I've been on John's radio show. Like I have no beef whatsoever with John. I actually think he does like a good job on the radio. I think he said that like Jakob Poeltl, RJ Barrett and number 9 or something. I don't know, man.
Take that.
One of two things have to be happening there, right? Either A, like Jakob Poeltl might not be on the table, right? Or number 9 might not be on the table or whatever it is, right? Or the Suns are bad at this, which like let's not rule that out, to be clear. But the Suns, they're bad at this if they're not doing Barrett, Pirtle, and 9 for KD. They want a center. Like, Pirtle is a top 15 center in the league to me. I think he's literally, I went through and ranked them. I think he was literally 15th is where I would have him right now. Barrett is fine. Like, he got a little bit better this season. He only has 2 years left on that contract. It's not like a disaster deal or anything like that. And then you get number 9. Like, that's a huge win. But that says to me that either the Suns are don't understand what that value is, or that's not on the table. Yeah. You know what I mean? It has to be one of the two.
Yeah. I mean, I find myself going a little bit more should the Raptors do this deal? Because who's going to play center after they make that deal? So let me ask you this, Sam. Do you think, and I know we've talked about Giannis, the Bucks offseason preview is out. Is there a little bit of those teams going, we're not going to pay a premium for KD because we may want to keep this stuff for Giannis if Giannis decides to shake loose and decide he wants to move on? Because every team you've brought up so far is what I would consider probably a top 5 Giannis team. Maybe, at least 2 of the 3 in San Antonio and Houston, and Toronto's probably one of the top 5. The only teams that I've heard mentioned with KD that probably aren't Giannis teams, if he were to want to get traded or it goes down that road, is Miami. Probably not really.
I just don't think they have the assets.
They don't have the asset.
Giannis.
And Minnesota is the other name that's been associated with KD that's not getting in on Giannis either. But some of these other teams, like the Raptors, the Spurs, the Rockets, I'm just well, of course they're not going to, because they think they might have a chance. So I don't know. I just wonder if that's holding them up a little bit and, adjusting the value and their sense of urgency to make something happen.
Yeah, and the thing here is I've seen the people, I've seen some reporting that he really wants to get to San Antonio, right? I think that, did Chom say that? I think he might have said that. Somebody said that. I'll look it up in a second. That KD wants to get to San Antonio. If San Antonio is not offering anything, Phoenix can't send him there. Just can't. It's just not the way that they can operate right now. They have to get this right in order to continue to roll here moving forward. It might have been Windy. I can't, either Windhorst or Shams might have said that. I know that Miami is on the list. I know that Houston's on the list. My read is still here that Miami makes the most sense. Here's the other thing too. A lot of people have brought up the fact that oh yeah, KD, go ahead.
Oh, no. So it was from The Athletic.
What was it? Was it Sam or something?
So it doesn't have it tagged.
I'll figure it out.
Oh, so it was from Sam and John, it looks like.
Okay, so Krasinski and Sam Amick. Sure.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
Regardless, I think that when you look at who needs KD the most, I think that it's still Miami. I've been saying this whole time that Miami's the one that makes the most sense to me. He does want to go, he's comfortable going there. And they have the right blend of assets to where I think they can swing it. And on top, if Houston and San Antonio want to keep the powder keg dry because they don't think KD pushes them over the top, then sure. Why do that? You know what I mean? Why make the move?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think Miami seems to be the one that makes the most sense. Maybe Phoenix is just absolutely not getting the offer from Miami that they want. I'm trying to think of do you put the Toronto offer out there trying to force the holdup is probably Khalil Ware would be my guess. That's 100% a guess. So maybe they're just trying to get Miami to up their offer, and maybe Miami's calling the bluff right now. But I'm with you. I feel like if San Antonio or Houston wanted him that bad, we would already be done. And so unless the ask really gets to a place they're comfortable with and they know they're 100% out on Giannis one way or the other, whether Giannis is staying or whatever. Yeah, Miami is the one. Like that seems like it would be the best fit. But like you said, maybe they're not offering what Phoenix thinks that they should get for Kevin Durant.
Yeah, I mean, like a Miami offer. So the whole thing for me the whole time is, I think that if you want KD, you probably have to offer Khalil Ware.
Sure.
Right. Like if the offer is Wiggins, Duncan Robinson, number 20 and Jovic, or number 20 and an additional first round pick, right? Whatever it is. I don't know what it is, right? If it's that, that's probably not ticking enough of Phoenix's boxes, right?
Yeah.
It just probably doesn't hit enough of the things that they need to check off to move Durant. I would say though that if you offer Khalil Ware, it probably does.
In
right?
place of either one of those things, either Ware instead of Jovic or Ware instead of a future first.
I think that probably gets you there.
Yeah.
And with Houston, I think that offering, because you basically have to do Jalen Green unless you're doing Fred VanVleet. I think that Jalen basically has to be in the deal. If it's Jalen, Londale, and like, Jabari Smith and number 10, that feels like too much to me.
Just, well, this year's draft capital is just so much different in those two trades.
I mean, here's a good question. Would you rather have Khalil Ware or Jabari Smith long term?
So that's where I was going.
I know what my answer is.
You would still go Jabari?
I would still go Jabari.
That my gut says Jabari still.
Yeah.
I think there's contract stuff there to consider where Jabari's
Definitely.
further into his career and all. We
Khalil
always
is 3 cheap years. Jabari has 1 cheap year left.
Yep.
And Jabari's cheap year is really not even that cheap.
Yeah. I've just been a huge Jabari fan and just have always thought he was going to figure it out and be a starting level 4 man in this league. So.
Yep. And I think Khalil's probably going to be a starting 5.
Sure.
But if I'm Miami and I'm doing this, I feel okay giving up Ware. It's kind of where I'm at. Maybe they don't, and they think his ceiling is like incredibly, incredibly high, but I don't know, man. I'm like a little bit worried about I'm pretty worried about the defense, to be honest. He showed a lot on offense this year as like a play finisher, rim runner, everything like that. I didn't love the defense.
No, there's real growth needed for sure.
So, yeah. If you made me pick one spot, I think I'd still probably pick Miami. That makes the most sense to like be aggressive and try to get this done.
Makes sense to me.
Minnesota. I mean, look, if he's not willing to commit there long term, I think it is hard for them to move Gobert in that deal. And if Gobert's not in the deal, it's hard for me to envision. Like, if Gobert's not in the deal, it kind of becomes like a 2K deal where like you're getting Randall to opt in and then he gets traded. Like that just doesn't really happen. Like guys like to control their destiny. It's just not really likely. Naz Reid, like sign and trade to Phoenix. They can't really do sign and trades right now because they're over the second apron.
Yep.
So that doesn't really work. And I think Minnesota is also over the second apron for
No, that's what someone hadn't even been thinking about it, and it got brought up because of to the Pistons. We were talking about like signing and trading to the Detroit, and they're like, oh, they can't do it because they're over the second apron. They don't even have the ability to do a sign and trade. So
yeah. Trying like anybody else, like Toronto. I mean, so here's the interesting thing for Toronto. And I wonder if like this is kind of why I think this makes a little bit more sense in my head than Houston and San Antonio, honestly. And I bet that's why they're still talked about in this way. I might be willing to do KD knowing that he's expiring in order to get off some money, because their books are like kind of cooked moving forward. Like they just have a lot of money on their books. Like if I could do Quickly and Pirtle, I know like Quickly's actually a good basketball player, but he is making like 35 million here moving forward, or 30 million, whatever it is. I don't think it's 35. I think it's 30 for 4 more years. It's probably an overpay, right? So I might try and look at this as like, okay, we're getting KD. This is great. I love it. You know, we have a real talent here, but part of the value for this is kind of getting this off of our books a little bit too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no. And that, but again, the return or what somebody's willing to give up is going to be less than what, I mean, we all roads lead back to Phoenix having to understand what it looks like the value for Kevin Durant is. Like it's the same conversation, just in kind of the opposite direction of what we said about Desmond Bane, right?
Yeah.
And that's what people are going to point to. Desmond Bane just went for this many picks and these players and whatever. And it's like, well, that's because for whatever reason, that was how Orlando valued him and what the Grizzlies held out to get. And if Phoenix wants to move off of Kevin Durant, or because Durant doesn't want to be there or whatever, his value is determined by what other teams are willing to offer, not by not how many points he scores or how many championships he's won or anything else. It is solely determined by what 29 other teams are willing to give. And if they're not willing to give more than Quickly and 9 or, whatever to make the money work, then that's what his value is, And so that's regardless of trying to compare it to other deals that have happened.
Yep. Okay. Do you want to talk about this Ace Bailey thing?
Sure.
So Ace Bailey decides to last minute cancel a workout with the Philadelphia 76ers. There are varying reports as to why. Who knows? Right. Let's not even, we can talk about that a little bit if you want to, but who knows as to what's going on there. So there are a couple of different options here, in my opinion. A, they might have a spot that they know is drafting him. You better be damn sure that team is taking him to pull these moves. I'm just going to be honest here. You need to be 100% certain in a way that I am not totally sure that an agent who does not really have many other players and doesn't really hold a lot of leverage league wide and doesn't really, Omar Cooper is a real, he runs the AOT AAU program. He's been around basketball forever. Sharif Cooper's father, no shots, at his past and what he's done, in terms of player development as well. But I don't know that he has the stature within the league from a power dynamics perspective to where I would even feel totally comfortable if I was him doing this.
Because if Clutch or whoever was doing this and a team screwed them, a team would never screw them because Clutch and
Correct.
CAA and all of them have so many clients that it would actually end up screwing the team. I talked to an agent over the last couple of drafts that it didn't happen at this spot, and it's nerve-wracking though. It's nerve-wracking to, and I asked him, I was like, well, what if they don't take? And he's like, we're screwed. Our players screwed if they don't, and you just have to trust. But it's, man, like you said, you got to be 100%. You better be sure that you better be all in with this team and this GM or whoever, that no other scenario can play out, Sam. Right? That's what you always talk about. All of the scenarios that he is number one on their board. I mean, I guess other than Cooper and Dillon, because it just doesn't seem like those guys not going 1-2 is really feasible. but still, I don't know. It's kind of crazy.
It is genuinely crazy. So here's my issue with this overall, right? It's just like super inconsiderate, first and foremost.
Sure.
Like, and like agents don't have to be considerate. It's not the job to be considerate, but this is one of the times where you can be. You could have just told Philly no. You could have just told them, like, hey, here's the reality. We don't want to come visit. But instead, you apparently agreed to a visit, then canceled like a day before or whatever, hours before you're supposed to get there. And Philly has like a bunch of man hours they've put into setting up the workout. They've, money obviously for hotels and planes and everything like that. It's just like a dick move, kind of, first and foremost. The second piece of this is, even just from a business logic perspective to me, right? And then we'll get into the intel and all that stuff. But even just from like a business logical perspective piece of this, if I was Ace Bailey and Ace Bailey's representation, I would want to go to Philadelphia, potentially like burn the building down or like do whatever in terms of the workout, like look amazing at that workout. If you're sure Philly isn't taking you and you're seeing this as like, oh, this is a waste of time, whatever. Like I haven't had Ace to Philly in a while, so like I'm not saying that I'm sure they're not going to take him. I don't know, but maybe they will, maybe they won't. Who knows? But if for some reason they have information that Philly is not interested in him and that's why you cancel the workout, you still go to the workout, because the reality is that if you can convince somebody to trade up to number 3, the difference between the number 3 overall pick and the number 6 overall pick is like $10 million over the course of the rookie scale contract.
Yep.
So you still want to go, in my opinion. Like,
yeah,
you still want to go and be able to like force a team to trade up. Like if you're certain Washington or New Orleans or whoever wants your guy, make it so they have to get up to 3 instead of staying at 6 or 7.
That's the leverage play, right, Sam? It's if New Orleans wants you, you don't cancel all of the other workouts. You specifically go to Philly and work out and crush it, and then tell the Philly reporters to, hey, can you tweet out how Ace crushed the Philly 76ers workout? So then the Pelicans are sitting over there going,
by the way, the 76ers, not only does the agent leak that, the 76ers leak that.
Yeah, exactly. And then you put the Pelicans in an absolute pickle where it's like, oh, all right, well, and you don't even have to do it with Philly. Like, you could do it with Charlotte too. Or like, this is how the game is supposed to be played. I mean, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. I'm on the outside here, but it seems like this is how the game should be played, right? In terms of, not only do I get to the team I want to get to, and I'm just using New Orleans as, whatever, but like you said, the difference in money is real. And I realize, like, either way, he's getting life-changing money, but $10 million, especially on a rookie deal, and then you have no idea what's going to happen on a second contract because stuff happens during the rookie contract, injuries, not playing well otherwise. That's real money for Ace Bailey or any kid.
100%. 100%. You want to make sure that your client is taken care of with like a backstop, first and foremost. Now, like, let's talk about all the other stuff here.
Real quick, I just want to say something real quick.
Go ahead.
This isn't Austin Reeves turning down, and other players. Austin Reeves isn't the only one that does. This isn't Austin Reeves turning down being a second-round pick to go undrafted and end up on a 2-way either way, right? Like, this is different. This is different levels of money. I just want to be clear, because I feel like some people could be like, well, people do this in the second round all the time. It's completely different because there's no guaranteed money like the rookie scale in the first round. So go ahead.
So what's weird to me is that this is just news for people now, right? I have been writing since April, May, March, who knows, that this is like, he is not a surefire number 3 guy in this class. It's been the reality the whole time. Bryce has him ranked number 3. I think it's completely reasonable and viable to have him ranked number 3, right?
Yep.
But the range was always wide. It was number 3 to like the middle of the lottery. That's what it's been the whole time. I had him at number 5 on the mock draft I published in May. Just looking back, right? I had him at, let's see here, in March as the NCAA tournament started, I had him at 4 and wrote literally again that the delta is wide with him. In the mock draft, I ran literally, I think earlier this week or last week or whenever I ran it, I had him at 4 and I had someone trading up to get him at 4. Because again, it is wide. Like the range here is wider than what people think. So I just don't understand why this is like such news. You know what I mean? So here's the like kind of stuff, right? I want to be very clear while we talk about this too, because like I can see people in the YouTube comments like talking like, kind of negatively about Ace Bailey. Everything I've gotten about Ace Bailey is he is a like good kid. Like he's a good kid. He's like kind of goofy and like, there's like some maturity stuff because he's 18 years old and, he's like has a good time and everything like that. Like he's a good kid that works hard. His teammates at Rutgers liked him. Like there's none of that with Ace Bailey. That's why the representation stuff frustrates me as much as it does, because I think that what the representation is kind of doing right now is making him out to be like more of a diva when, like, from what I understand, like he works, like he doesn't, the bigger issues with Ace Bailey is like his game needs a lot of work. He's very skilled. He's very talented as a shot maker. He's very, very gifted and has a real ceiling. Like he could be an all-star level player, but he's going to have to work to get there. Like he doesn't read the court all that well right now. His passing ability obviously is, not non-existent, but not great right now. Defensively, he's not all that engaged and not all that consistent with his rotations. But when you see him locked in defensively, like against Alabama, for instance, early in the year, when there were a million scouts in the gym, that was pretty good. Like he looked great in that game. He was super switchable. He was active. He was aggressive. But, middle of the games in Big Ten play, missed rotations constantly and like would get leveraged. He doesn't play with a ton of bend. Like he stands straight up, doesn't always, give second and third efforts consistently. It's frustrating. That's what makes all of this like a little bit frustrating to me, I guess, with all of this. And to me, again, that's why, like, when we talk about this with Ace, it's easy to chalk all of this up for him to where, like, he's a teenager and, he'll mature, like he'll figure this out, right? The question is not, will Ace Bailey mature as he gets older, right? Undeniably he will. Everybody is a totally different human being than they were from 18 to 25, right? He's gonna mature, he's gonna figure things out. It's that it's whether or not he matures quick enough, right? Because in 2 years he's still going to be 20, and 20-year-olds, like, don't always have, the best decision making, speaking completely separately about, from Ace on that respect, right? But like, it's not like you go from 18 to 20 and you're a totally changed person. You know what I mean? It takes time. So the thing for me is that it's not that Ace isn't going to mature. Of course he will. It's whether or not he matures quickly enough and fast enough so that the team that selects him is the one that's getting what it needs out of him, right? And in this like very developmental period of his time, right? Like, is he getting the right kind of development?
Yeah.
Is he getting the right kind of, things? Does he have the right vets to kind of show him the way? Is there a strong locker room presence? Like, does he have people around the team that'll like help him figure some things out? Right. Every rookie needs a vet, but like, I think that with Ace, you probably want like a stronger set of vets around at the end of the day.
I mean, does he has the right people in his own inner circle in terms of his representation and stuff? I mean, I'll be honest, but before I got really into this stuff, I was very naive into like, why do players need agents, right? Like I was one of those people. What are they doing? And then the more you get into it, the more you talk to teams, the more you talk to a few agents, you talk to players here and there that I've got the opportunity to. It's for stuff like this. It's navigating the world of being a professional athlete, and not just on the court, but off the court and everything that comes with that. And I'm not trying to take, I don't know his representation at all. I mean, I know that it's Sharif Cooper's dad, but I mean, I don't know, but it's just like, it doesn't seem like it's been handled well and that he's been prepared well, even going back to the combine interview stuff that people were talking about. And so like, to your point, I've had someone tell me recently, the NBA will, eat you up and spit you out. Like you get a couple years to figure it out and it's sink or swim. Yeah. And that's to your point here where he has to mature quickly, and not just Ace, all kids, all of these guys coming in and getting drafted, and having the right people around you, not just organizationally, but representation and your inner circle is a huge part of that as well.
Yeah. Like his game is just not very mature right now.
Sure.
Like, forget like all the other stuff. Like his game is not very focused and mature in terms of the way he approaches it. And he needs to grow in that respect. And I would hope that the people around him understand that, there's still a long way to go here.
Sure.
Like that kid from everything I understand, like has a real work ethic. Like he's willing to put in the effort and like willing to like go in the gym and like really work on his craft. Are we working on the right things?
Sure.
That's where representation comes in.
Yes.
In the off season, are we working on the right, or are we watching tape and like understanding what I missed defensively? Or are we watching, tape, or are we getting the kind of training from our trainers to where, you put, 4 guys next to him on the court and you put 5 defenders on the court, even if it's like a bunch of 5'9" white dudes like myself. Right. And you like literally can stop the game and you go, okay, what do you see here?
Yeah.
Figure out what this read is, right? There's so much more into, like, there's just so much more that goes into this. And I hope that his representation will figure that piece of it out and isn't just empowering many of like the worst kind of like qualities of Ace's game as a shot maker only.
It's funny. I had this conversation with somebody today about a different player that I don't know if they're following or not, but it's a later first round prospect. And I told him, I said, I feel like they're trying to sell him at a position that he's not, as opposed to leaning into what he is. And I don't want to throw out the player's name right now because, but it was just like, this stuff is important. The way you sell these guys and the videos you show of them working out and what they're working out on and those type of things, right? It really matters, and it's really important. And it's not just an Ace Bailay thing. It's every player across the board having this infrastructure to help them be successful.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a bit worried about this is what I would say. I mean, it just hasn't gone like according to plan.
Yeah.
Let's go with to this point. Antonio asks, shout out to Antonio for the super chat. If you can pick one team in the lottery to draft Ace for development, coaches, teammates, etc., what team is that? I would say Washington, probably, honestly. And the reason for that is that like they have a real identity. They know what they're trying to build toward. They have vets now, like from what I understand, like Chris Middleton is like fine there. Like he's not going to like try and get a buyout or anything like that. Marcus Smart is there now. Like we talked about this throughout the year, like Jordan Poole got like some pretty positive notes for like the leadership that he gave to some of their young guys. this year. And Jordan Poole, like God knows, I mean, whether or not Jordan Poole is like the best, player type in terms of getting Ace's tendencies on the right track, who's to say? But just having good vets around, I think, would be helpful, while also having like an organization that has clarity on what it's trying to do. And frankly, like Ace is gonna like have some games where if you give him 20 minutes a night, he might shoot you out of them, right? So the win, like it can't be like a high stakes like wins and losses situation early for him, I think.
Yeah. That's where Philly would put a lot on him, right? I don't know that I love Charlotte. Washington is definitely one that's a little bit interesting for me. You brought up Middleton a couple times. I think that's a good call. And I've mentioned I like Poole being there because then like he can take all the first option looks and Ace isn't walking into a first option as a rookie, because I don't think that's a great scenario for him. I mean, if I have the entire lottery, my eyes go to San Antonio, like get into San Antonio under, and with Victor and everything. And I know Pop isn't, on the sideline anymore, but I would assume that a lot of what they like, that just seems like a very stable organization still.
I mean, if he falls to 14, like he should fire his representation.
No, I know. And I was thinking more at 2, which I know he's not. Like, if I'm just like cherry picking the question where it says any team in the lottery, that was the first team that stood out, realistic or otherwise.
Yeah. From Nick, wanted to say thanks and ask a question. A lot of talk about Oklahoma City valuing dribble, pass, shoot. The prospects aren't perfect and choices are about trade-offs. What are they valuing less? Size, athleticism. So the question is like, what is Oklahoma City valuing at the expense of these, or not valuing at the expense of getting guys that are skilled? And by the way, like the other thing is that I would say there, like quick processing ability, like good human beings is a big thing for them as well. I would say athleticism particularly is a thing that they probably care a little bit less about than other teams.
Yeah. I was trying to think about like body types across the board, if there was anything that stood out. Not overly. So I was going to say not overly physical, but Dort is a monster at his position, and then they paid Hart. But a lot of the guys
I think they
drafted,
definitely value physicality.
Yeah. Because like even Kaysen plays physical for. I actually was gonna. The funny thing is, we always say they value dribble, pass, shoot, but what are a couple things that we've questioned for them throughout the series? Shooting for sure, and even some secondary creation when it's not Shea and J-Dub. So I find myself going, okay, what are we missing here? Are they valuing guys that can do all three, and because of that, they don't do any of those things at a super high level? And would it actually be better if, hey, they do just enough passing, just enough shooting, but they're an elite off the bounce player, or they do just enough dribbling, just enough passing, and they're an elite shooter, as opposed to maybe trying to find guys that do all of it at a certain, I don't know. We've questioned the shooting, we've questioned the dribbling a little bit for a team we say really values dribble, pass, shoot.
I don't think I think today is like a total like throw out in regard to like the dribbling on some level. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They might not value like, I think they probably valued shot creation until they found J-Dub. And now that they have found him, honestly, like at Kentucky, like Kaysen had like a chance to do some of that too. And they just took Nikola Topic. So like maybe they do value shot creation, obviously. So
yep.
I would say that like they value dribble, pass, shoot, processing ability. People say like height and like size, but they're pretty big. Like Kaysen is long. Chet and Hartenstein are both enormous. Shea is enormous for a point guard. J-Dub is enormous for like a 2 guard or a 3 guard, like whatever you want to call them, right? I would say that like they value length like strength, like low center of gravity for sure. So yeah, like I would say that the things that maybe they value like shooting volume a little bit less from three.
Yeah. No, I mean it's tough too, because I mean this team is, while they just got blown out tonight, they are still one game away from an NBA Finals with all of these guys
Yeah.
being fairly young. So I'm not trying to give them credit for everything. Like they don't have a perfect track record, but it does seem like they've built, again, they found their identity. They identify players that fit. And it seems like somewhere in there shooting is the answer, right? Like some version of the floor spacing, shot making is the answer, whether it's volume or not asking for a high enough threshold or something like that. It seems like maybe shooting, floor spacing is in there somewhere.
Yep. From Ron Burgundy, thoughts on Siakam guarding J-Dub more in game 7? Seems like the next big wrinkle from Rick after seeing it for a few possessions in the first half. Yeah, I would expect that we see a little bit more of it, especially in lineups where they are small.
So like Dagnall will either make this Dagnall will ultimately make this decision for him, because
I think so too.
If Dagnall stays too big, this is a really hard decision to make for Carlisle. If Dagnall goes single big, which again, Sam, my prediction here is I don't think we see the two big lineup in game 7. I think he's going to start something else.
I think we see it, but not much.
And I think we see Siakam on J-Dub anytime they can do it when the two bigs aren't on the floor.
Yeah. From John Zemiskis. Yeah. No disrespect, but why do NBA circles call you? So like, why do people that work for front offices and agents and things call me? Yeah, I mean, look, like I'm sure information on some level, because a lot of information kind of comes in and out. It's one of those things that like, once you get some of it, you get a lot of it. I report I mean, I don't really report a lot. So like, I know drastically more for the most part than what I say on here. Like general like trust factor is probably a thing. I'm like a normal human to talk to also, I think, is like a big factor. Yeah, I mean, like honestly, like also people just like talking basketball.
Okay,
like people that work in basketball like talking basketball, and like I can talk basketball at a pretty real level, so that's also a real factor.
That's what I was going to say, Sam, was the ones I've interacted with have been like, hey, enjoyed the podcast. I just like to talk ball. Sounds like you like to talk ball. Let's talk ball every once in a while. I mean, I recently had a college coach that like listens to our podcast, followed me, hit me up in a DM, said he liked the podcast, and we jumped on a phone call and we talked for 20 minutes about his team and his path. And, we talk all the time about developing relationships, like real meaningful relationships. And
totally,
when you can talk ball, the people
that's
like
actually
to do that.
big, that's a big thing with me too. Like, I don't really have the artificial, like transactional relationships, right? Like it's just not the way my brain is wired. I genuinely do not mean shots at Shams at all. Like this is just his job, right?
Yeah.
Like Shams has to be texting people constantly, right? And has to be like trying to figure out, like I worked with him, right? Like I know what this job is. Like he just has to be on his phone constantly and do it. Like it's totally fine. You know what I mean? It's what he's chosen to do, and I respect what he does immensely. It's just not the way I want to live my life. You know what I mean? Like if I'm going to have a relationship with somebody, I don't want it to just be like information. Like I'm good having a a real, like I would prefer to have like genuine real relationships with like everybody I talk to, as opposed to just like kind of the, hey, do you know this? Do you know that? Like, what's going on? Like, how about this? That's probably another thing too. Is the big piece of it.
It's a very, I hate using the word network because I just think it takes like the relationships out of it, but it's a very huge network of people. And you just never know whenever something may come across. Like, I mean, I've told this before, like Sam and I randomly got on a phone call together because I wanted to talk ball with somebody that knows ball. And, 9 months later, this position came open, and, out of that conversation was built a relationship and multiple conversations and all of that. And then that created an opportunity for me to come on, kind of do a test run. I think Sam tested me out without me realizing he was testing me out, and things went from there. So I had a lot of notes for that episode.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, like, I am generally like a fairly introverted human, I would say. I'm not somebody that I tend to be pretty introverted, like, ADHD and all that shit, like whatever it is. But, I'm willing to chat with people. I'm willing to talk to people and figure out what's going on basketball wise. And like the other thing is, like, I just like to learn as well. And, having conversations is like, it's funny. I was reading a book recently. I was reading, what is it? Abundance here by Ezra Klein and Derek Thompson. And, one of the things that they note in there, is that invention like tends to happen basically, whenever, colleagues and friends and competitors are like within the same area, you know what I mean? And, people are spurred by competition, and they need to find the colleagues and friends and the competitors that unlock their genius and like add their own. Right. So I'm definitely like a big believer in that. Even though I live in Australia, like I have to get on the phone and chat with people and be able to have those conversations in order to, like, maybe I'm unlocking something in their brain, maybe they're unlocking something in my brain. Like, who cares who knows more, who knows less? It's not about that. It's about, thinking about things from different angles and being able to kind of work your way through different angles, to me.
Yep. No, I agree.
Okay. There's one other question here. One thing that we didn't cover in the off-season preview for the Spurs, as Rachel notes here, was the Jeremy Sohan extension, because he's eligible for an extension this year. Yeah, that video was just going long, and we kind of had to call it at a certain point. Sohan's extension number is really interesting, and I do really like Jeremy Sohan. I think that he does continue to get better. That's a hard number, man. He's a good player, and he is really good on defense. And, you're probably hoping that it's like an Aaron Gordon for your, Wemby Jokic vibe, right? Like that's your goal. I don't know, 480. Throw out a number. Give me a number, Bryce.
20. No, we're in the same range. 20 was kind of my max. I was like, he's more than a non-tax guy, right? So like he's more than 15, I think. But I don't love the idea of getting into and this is like, this may be me undervaluing him. It's just like I struggle with guys, like especially non-sinners that can't shoot. Like it's a real struggle for me, because then I feel like you're always trying to build your team around them, and that's not your best player, your second best player, your third best player. But you're having now, what's easy for San Antonio is they have the stretch five, but whenever you put a non-floor spacer on the floor with the stretch five, now it kind of takes away that, right? That advantage that you're supposed to create. It's like the Josh Hart thing with GMAC and the Knicks all the time. And you have Steph Castle, who also doesn't shoot it right now. So,
75. Like,
yeah, I feel better at a number that's below 20 AAV.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what he wants. Like, I don't know what his number would be. He's a hard one, man. Like, you could tell me that number is anywhere from like 70 to 90, and I'd be like, sure. Like, over 4 years, right? I don't think he gets 25 a year. That feels aggressive to me, to be honest with you. but is it like, yeah, maybe like 474?
Is he the long-term starter for San Antonio?
470? Could be. Like, I think he could be. The issue for Sohan is the same issue, not totally, because he's a really good defender, and the guy I'm about to mention is not. But like offensively, it's a similar situation to Giddey, right, with Oklahoma City, where if you have Wemby on the team center can guard Sohan, and you can send help to Wemby.
Yeah,
in a real way.
Yep.
Maybe it's like 17 a year, something like that. 17 a year would only be like 68 for what it's worth. It's like 470 sounds right to me. Maybe is my answer.
Yeah, that again, that's the 4 for 80 was the high end of 20 a year was the high end for the range for me. The numbers we've gotten to, I feel much more comfortable. Like you're barely over the non-tax at that point. And I feel okay with that. Assuming you think that all of Castle, Sohan, Harper, like, depending on what you feel in totality with that group, like, do we have too many non-shooters? Then you may have to be a little bit more careful with it. But to me, that number is okay, even if he ends up being your seventh man off the bench. You know what I mean? Like he ends up being your backup 4. You can live with that number. I think you start getting into the 20s a year, and he better end up being your starting 4. You know what I mean? Don't you think?
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree with you. I think that's all we got, Bryce. I think we're going to call it there.
Cool.
For the evening. We went for an hour and a half. It was a little longer than what I thought we would go for, actually. Bryce, tell the people where they can find your work. Tell the people what's going on.
Yeah, at Motor City Hoops on Twitter, on Blue Sky. You check out the Motor City Hoops Substack. I have like 15 video breakdowns, I think, of draft prospects, and then another 7 or something like that, off-season potential acquisitions. They're for the Pistons, but you still get the point with those. So if your team might be in the market for Jake LaRavia, Sam Merrill, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, find those on the Substack. The Pistons Pulse podcast, which was joined by the man himself, Sam Vecenie, earlier in the week. You guys can check that out on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Had a really fun conversation. That's actually probably our most viewed YouTube video. So that episode crushed. So go check that out. Otherwise, right here, Game Theory Podcast with the Sam Vecenie.
Go to The Athletic. You will be able to get the draft guide. You will have a mock draft up on Monday at the website for all of your mock draft needs as we head into draft week next week.
Hey.
Remember, the draft is Wednesday this year.
Yep.
Like, is that throwing you off at all?
No. Should it be?
It's typically Thursday.
Oh. No.
It's like still off to me in some way. I don't know why. I can't figure out why I'm like thrown with that in the way that
it is going to be it is going to be Thursday for you. So.
Oh, it's definitely going to be on. And there's another day. There's 2 days still this year.
Yeah.
Which is, oh boy. Oh boy, this year with the second round.
45 to 59 or whatever is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah. People will actually be watching us to figure out who these guys are. Okay, go to The Athletic. Keep me employed over there. I did a thing today, by the way, top 20 prospects. I've been doing this for a decade now, which is terrifying to me. Top 20 prospects in the time that I have been doing this, purely based on what they are as a draft prospect. That's it. And then, hit the subscribe button to the show. Hit the subscribe button over on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, whatever, wherever, whatever platform you use. We appreciate it immensely. Thank you all for listening. Until next time, we'll talk soon.